All right, now let me invite all of you to kindly join us for an insightful panel discussion on exploring the shift to emerging cities, the talent advantage. Let's now discover how the emerging cities are becoming a hotbed for the talent, innovation, and economic development. Let's listen to some valuable insights from our industry experts on how, or like the technologies or the opportunities and the advantages that are offered by the dynamic urban centers in the global landscape. And this session shall be chaired by Ms. Sheena Raj, the Head of Data Services and Product Management Delivery Teams at Allianz Technology India. And the panelists shall be Mr. Hari Prasad, the VP and Managing Director at H&R Block India, Mr. Mahipal Nair, the Managing Director of Trellix India and Vice President of HR India, and Ms. Anitha George, who is the Vice President of India COE and Country Leader at Celonis. May we kindly have all four of these wonderful guests kindly onto the stage, please. Let's give a big round of applause to our session chairperson, Ms. Sheena Raj, and the panelists, Mr. Hari Prasad, Mr. Mahipal Nair, and Ms. Anitha George. And let's have a wonderful panel discussion.
Hello. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. All set? Okay. Good afternoon. Today here we're going to discuss the topic on exploring the shift to the emerging hubs, okay, and the talent advantage in particular. So how we are going to channelize the conversation would be mostly going through the obviously the strategic shift, the attention and investment that we see in these tier 2 and 3 companies, and then go into understanding the driving factors behind this and also the opportunities and challenges associated. We have with us eminent panelists with their vast experience as well as their insights. I hope we'll have a comprehensive understanding of the different aspects of this paradigm shift. Thank you. I'll now take a quick note before I actually start my first discussion point. I come from Allianz Technology India, and coincidentally, we are celebrating our 20 years in India, and that exactly shows how we are leveraging this multi-tier location. We do have centers in Pune and Trivandrum. So with that note, I go on to my first question. Hari, you've been a leader who has been leading I think in various cities, a large organization, HR Block, right? And with the emerging cities coming in, what exactly I would say, like maybe 2 key considerations that you have for people who would like to choose these locations?
Sure, Sheena. First of all, I need to thank NASCOM for doing this, especially in Trivandrum. I am from Trivandrum too. Need to give a round of applause for all the effort they put into develop this as a state. Thank you. Because I think this is the first time we are doing it in Trivandrum, if I am correct. Okay. So let me back to the question. What are the 2 key things which we do is, especially the first one I think about is it's more about local, right? Before we get into the execution phase of building a company in an emerging city, normally what we can do is one is primarily understand the local context, right? What is really there. One is with respect to the regulatory, what is particularly the state regulatory thing, and then we need to think about, right, mostly about what is the growth potential you can make in that particular state or a city, right? As soon as you get to know about those 2 things, regulatory things and what is in for you from the state, then automatically, if there is a growth potential to enhance yourself or develop yourself, first part is done. Then you go to the next stage of, right, how can you adapt into that adapt into that particular city, right? That's very important. You need to understand the government support and their government policies, what they can provide for you, and they need to understand the talent, and finally the infrastructure, right? The government, most importantly for me, right, once you adapt into that particular culture or the environment, if the government need to come forward and set some policies which is really uh, helping the company to grow as well. So especially when you come from a company, especially if you are coming from a US company or from Europe, that's a purely professional environment. They want to go literally faster, right? If it's becomes slow, so my point is government should come forward and set of groups like a PRO group. They need to come forward and say, guys, you come in and we can have a channel, green channel, you can go faster to develop these things. Until you do that, right, it's not easy. Once these two stuff are done, then it's easy, right? Then normally we hear about hub and spoke model where hub is anywhere, right, where you are comfortable with, and spokes are like different cities. I need to highlight a company called Honeywell. I've been literally following up. They have multiple hubs. They just don't stop with technology alone. They have a lot of research and development sections too. So they have multiple hubs and multiple spokes, but literally they take a lot of support from the government to formalize that actually. This is the two things which I do. But this topic is a vast topic. We can talk about cost, we can talk about profit, we can talk about value, all those stuff. That's the secondary part of it. As soon as we get into the footstep into a particular city, these are the two things which I would do based on my experience.
Thank you, Hari. I think I'll move on to Mahi. Mahi, I know you have been setting up companies as a part of GCC also in various locations. So what is the strategy and vision tech organization should adapt, for such multi-tier locations, okay? Is it different for different segments, types, technologies, etc.?
Yes, so the way to look at it is that how GCCs came to India a couple of decades ago, how it started, how the evolution has been. So it will differ from company to company, but essentially if you are looking at scale, then it will be hub and scope that Hari just spoke about, because that's what works for that. Then there is cost, which was probably one of the first reasons that industries started moving to India, like at the beginning of this century. So that will still remain a big factor. And then third factor would always be de-risking your investment. So there are companies who are investing in India that was because of de-risking some of their investments. Now within India also you need to do that because multiple factors, there are socio-economic factors, there are political factors, there is natural factors. So all this would mean that you need to equalize. So all of these strategies will have to be considered before you think about investing in any of these emerging cities.
Okay, good. All right, Anitha, it's a bit legal question that I have for you, because I think with your extensive 25 years of experience in providing services to EMEA and APAC regions, especially, I know you would have faced tax implications, regulatory, and what more, lots of things, sure, definitely. So in those angles, I also understand that local bodies are also emphasizing on, regular policy reviews and etc. So what is the preparedness that one should do? Or what is your perspective, I would rather say, in terms of, especially in terms of regulatory and tax investments when setting up a GCC?
So thank you, Sheena, for that, and thank you everyone for having me here. My parents are from Cochin in Kerala, though I've never lived in Kerala. It's great to be back. And once NASSCOM reached out and invited me to come and speak in Trivandrum, I grabbed the opportunity and it said, great to be in my home state. Now, I set up the Celonis Center in India about 2 years back. And I'll go through a little bit about why I chose Bangalore. Because the task ahead is find a city where which makes sense for us. And Celonis is a German tech startup started by students who passed out of university, and this was their first venture. So to be honest, they have never traveled to India, the founders, and they had no clue what they were in for. Setting up in India. It's like, me trying to set up a center in Nigeria. I have no clue about the place, no clue about the people. So this was a similar situation for them. So the first thing is for them to have a very clear landscape of what's available and to understand what is it that they want from India. The key thing that they wanted from India is accessibility to talent and to create a team that is passionate about working in a new area called process mining. A team that is loyal to the company because they are looking to develop a product, develop competency on a platform, and besides that, they wanted an environment where the product would thrive and the product would be enabled. Key consideration for this is availability of a partner ecosystem, availability of talent, and friendly government policies. For all of this, talent was a key consideration because this required talent in data science. And while doing research, Bangalore, Hyderabad, all of them proved to be very good areas for talent. And since I was personally located in Bangalore, we decided on Bangalore for a location. The other key thing is that if you look at all the big four consulting firms, if you look at the large GSIs like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, all of them have got large centers in India, and all of them have got practices that implement process mining. And this was again a consideration, when we were setting up a GCC. So if we're looking at GCCs in tier 2 cities, one of the points of consideration would be, is there an ecosystem already available? Okay. The other thing is, with related to tax, when you're setting up in a new country, there's always a fear as to it is complex. And the outside view is that in India, everything is very complex. Or when it comes to tax, there are a lot of regulations. And more than the regulations, it is not easy to deal with the Indian government. Okay, this is the feeling that is there outside. So as a country, we need to be able to simplify the process for any outside entity trying to set up in the country. Be it our GST regulations, be it a simple thing like the income tax, the employee setup itself. It is very difficult to streamline and regularize this. And there are things like labor inspections which happen, and the questions asked are sometimes not comprehended by an outside entity. For instance, there was a labor inspection, when I set up the office, and they came in and said, oh, you don't have a notice board where you're publishing the holiday list. You don't have a register that you're maintaining this. But today we are in the internet world. A lot of, what we publish is not on a physical notice board, but it is on the web. So as policies, that we develop, we have to make sure that we are changing with the times. And today what we have is applicable to the technology world that we are in.
If I can add, actually, right, with respect to, we went through all those situations like Anitha mentioned. Most importantly, right, we have like 4 or 5, like she talked about income tax, she talked about GST, she talked about the labor laws, right? Everything is complex and we keep on changing, right? Now we have another thing is Companies Act, actually. Every company which has got more than 200 crores would have an auditing process too. So it is very complex. Finally, what we end up in doing is, right, is explain to, update our corporate. Rather, what we'll do is we'll go find a Big Four or some auditing firms to help us do it, actually, because it's very, very complicated. The answer to that is, short term is, go with the SME who can help us out, actually, while we're building the capability. So that is something now, like she said, we need to make it easy. The government should work on to make the process ease out.
And ease of use and predictability. Predictability is also very important because, like Hari mentioned, if there's a sudden change in policy, that creates fear. Or what's going to be the implication?
So with all this complexity, I come to the next question, Hari. What is the cost implications when we look for growth of such emerging hubs or cities?
Yeah, the cost, if you look into the cost, it's various factors will come in. I'll talk about, it's not about GCs, though we are our parent company is in US, but let me think about a typical startup versus, this will differ from a startup versus a big corporate starting in the now emerging city or in metro. When you look into the cost, right, it's more about if we look into a metro versus a emerging city like a Trivandrum or Cochin or now Nashik or anywhere, right? It's more about right. You get about 30 to 40% saving on the real estate when we do the real math of it's predominantly on the rent, right, versus metro versus the local, but 40% benefit actually. That's a good one. And in addition to that, if you look into the talent side, right? Earlier we used to say all the time talent in like emerging cities is much economic, but post-pandemic it's all gone actually. We've been evaluating that, right? People are working from home. The people expect more salary. So the benefit, you may get a smidge, very minute, but you don't get a lot, right? So what you have to think is, instead of thinking about cost implication, you should think about what value we can add back to your corporate, right? So gradually, if you look into the companies, the third point which I need to connect to is, what is the support ecosystem we have, right? If somebody talked about the Mercedes-Benz research and development, so for my cost, we have to add towards a value than to a profit, right? How we can add value is probably do more innovation, more research and development, like Mercedes, right? They have more than over 1,000 people in Bangalore just do research and development. They can help value towards their parent company and add value. Gradually, you can move towards a profit center rather than being a cost center. So my point is, cost implication will be there. Take it positive, work on it to make it more profitable business from India, right? Because you can see about, though there is a turnover in the last 12 months, probably 6 months, but I still feel that India as a company, every corporate look at how they can expand the business in India, right? Because inflation rates are going extremely up in US and UK. They want to start here. Though we have inflation rates, but still we can make money in that actually automatically without doing anything. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, thanks. Since you touched upon talent, I would now divert my next question. We all know that people is the heart of all IT industry, or any industry for that matter. So, and especially here, we in Tier 2 or emerging hubs, what we see is that there's a vast demand of resources. I mean, availability, I would write. Now, demand surge has been about 35 to 45% if you see across various sectors now. So availability is there, demand is there. There's also nurturing of these resources through academics as well as on-the-job training. My question to you, Anitha, would be, are we prepared in terms of using this talent pool? How prepared, or rather, how prepared are we using this talent pool to meet the demand?
I think this has always been a very favorite question. How do we bridge the gap, between talent from the university and talent that we need, who can be deployed in our workplace? I would say that, availability of talent is there. The ecosystem has responded to the large need for IT services. And, the number of students today passing out with information science, computer science, and related degrees is, 10 times more than what it was, a few years back. Okay, so the availability of talent is there, but where is the gap? Now, when we hire, into, say, Celonis, we have the same benchmark globally for any new graduate that we hired. Okay, so any fresh graduate is hired into a global graduate program. And when you benchmark somebody hired in India versus someone hired in Madrid or Munich or New York, the difference in terms of technical product skill, all of them are at the same level. But the gap that I see is in terms of taking end-to-end ownership, ability to take end-to-end ownership, ability to communicate, exactly what they want, and the ability to end-to-end visualize the product and take that ownership. This is where I see our talent lacking a bit. Okay, we are very good when, we are given very clear instructions and told, yes, this is what you have to do. But then when it comes to innovating ideas, taking it, to completion, end to end, taking lead and, delivering, this is where, the talent, I think we need to develop this. And unless, we start delivering products from our country, okay, we really do not match up to, see, if I look at the company that I work for, this was, started by university students in Germany, okay. The more we have companies started by university students in India and growing to the same extent as, companies outside, then that is when we are able to change the, perception, and we change the game. And, we've proved ourselves, when we reach there. Okay, and this is what we need to work towards. But having said that, when I look at the talent, in terms of communication skills and the focus on understanding business along with technology, there is a lot of improvement today. And it's a lot better than it was, 10 years back. There's a lot of work happening. And the other thing is that, companies, including Celonis, they're tying up with universities to offer a one-credit course on the platform, and or on the technology that they use, so that students coming out from colleges itself, they come with this knowledge, and this helps not only promote the technology but bridge that gap between industry and education.
Mahi, with that as a background, when we lack more of the constraints with what we can enhance further, my question would be like, what are the key specific transitions that these emerging, industries in these emerging cities can look forward, and how, or what is the strategy we can do to sustain the quality of our resources?
Yeah, so one of the biggest factors is something that has all of us have experienced after pandemic, because when this whole great resignation debate started, that's when this was largely because people started discovering there's more to life than just work life. So, and that's when people started discovering that there is additional support system that you need, which is beyond what a large city can give. Many of us have had this migrant life, who have moved from city to city and in search of a career, maybe in search of job, and that's the phase that has changed. So the biggest opportunity for an emerging city is to offer that life, which is way different from a larger city in terms of quality, in terms of times. Like I have lived more than half my life in smaller places. I lived in Kottayam for about 7 years. That's the only time I've gone home for lunch. So now those are things which are luxury, and you can create that kind of system if you're lucky. Like if you can have a walk to work kind of. So many cities across the world have thought about walk to work as a concept, but not many have been able to actualize it. Now when this whole race is happening, and there are like 20 years ago when India became a critical country for investments, and I just digressing a bit and talking about the point Hari had made, that India has reached to a stage where cost is no longer a reason to invest. There is some, but not huge. The time has come for value, and the points that Anitha made, that India as a country has to offer a lot more original work, a lot of more products, a lot more. So if you think about country like Israel, when they measure a business school or engineering, they measure things like that. How many entrepreneurs they are churning up. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was with one of the IIMs with their student alumni, and they still, and this is one of the IIMs, so you can imagine how would it be for others. They still measure with number of offers made and what's the average salary. And I asked them, why can't you next time show how many companies your students have launched? right? So that's so again, point goes back to what emerging cities offer is this balance where you can do multiple things versus, let's say, very simplistically put, spending time in traffic. And the whole support system, and so that a smaller city offers is way better than a larger city. There's another thing. There was a time that especially in large countries like India, people have moved cities because there were not good opportunities and they would have left their family. The time has come, especially after pandemic, that people have realized that there is a merit in staying where you are. And many of us have done. So again, going back to one company that I worked in, Kotin, there is probably one of the fewer companies of that kind of a revenue and that kind of a reach, one of the best media companies in the country and maybe in the world, one of the oldest. But the reason they have been able to do that is because of the talent they have. So imagine a city like Kottayam, which is still small by large standards, can afford. Why? Because they created a system because of which talent would come and stay on. And now that's the model that many of us who are promoting emerging cities have to develop.
Okay, Mahi, thanks for that. I think I'll touch upon a point that you mentioned within the talent about people working from any location. So you also had touched upon that, Hari. So basically, with the current norm where people can work in a hybrid model, how do you think that when we are setting up operations in emerging cities, would there be any significant advantage in terms of cost as well as talent, considering these aspects?
First of all, it's already 140, 145 people might be cursing us for sure, right? It's now probably we can wrap it up faster. One thing which I need to highlight is, right, now the pandemic and the post-pandemic, nobody want to come back to office actually. That's a trend across. And we might think, right, we can hire people remotely, if you're sitting at Trivandrum, we can hire people from Delhi and you get talents. But that's good actually. But for me personally, I feel that that's just a short-term solution, right? Because we are going to lose the connected model. We call as connected culture. So that is the real secret source of taking the company to the next level. If people start working, think about an associate, right, passing out from the university and sitting and connecting from home. I don't think, and if you are in office, if he or she is in office, she can be productive in about 2 to 3 months. Not just productive, creating that soft skill, right, interacting with people, connecting with people, that makes a huge difference. That's what we are missing for the last 3 years. So if you go this model, it's not going to be effective. For me, it's more about, right, most of us, is more about creating a hybrid culture with flexibility, right? So I'm not saying that people can still work from home, it's more about hybrid with flexibility. That's a model we need to get in actually. And having said that actually, right, talent availability, going back to Sheena's point is, right, will we get talents? Yes, what we have to do is we need to find ways. If you look at the statistics, 60% of the universities or schools or colleges resides in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, including Trivandrum, Cochin, the cities we talked about. If you look into Ahmedabad is still not a metro. They generate the maximum accounting and commerce graduates actually, right? We are building some tax practice for the company. We end up in going to Ahmedabad to get the talents because we are just talking right before that we are talking to Anitha. She said, now they have a practice where they generate CAs, not just generating CAs, they also build them with competitive knowledge, especially in the communication side, no stage fear, all those stuff. That's the way we need to build people, right? So that means talent availability will be there, especially, and also the cost benefit, right? We have to invest on talent, right? It's not about cost actually. So we got to identify, if it's in Trivandrum, we need to identify people who are working, who passed out from the university local to here, they will be working in metros. Identify those folks who need to come back to the emerging cities and get them back. We may need to incentivize them better. They will definitely be back. But to control the cost, we can hire from the universities and put them on top of them so that now the cost will not be that high. Put together some intelligent models so that cost will not go up, but utilizing the emerging cities like travel, faster travel, no pollution, right? Get the right people, all the facilities you will get. Actually, people will even think about, how can I get the weekend, right? I need to spend weekend. Is it available? Bangalore is a city where they can enjoy, but we need to develop that actually. right? That's what we need to do. And if you do that, right, cost factor, you get the cost benefit, but at the end, it's more about, right, building the right talents across the emerging cities too, because that's the only way we can make a digital India. Because by building like 4 or 5 cities, because if you look in the metros, 5 cities covers 95% of the GCCs. 95% of the GCCs are working in like 4 or 5 cities. That need to be changed actually. We all need to work towards that to accomplish that actually. That's what I would say. You may not be happy, they're from Bangalore, but still that's the way we need to be focused on. So.
No, I'll say one thing. We all, I think earlier in the day also somebody mentioned about ISRO. And you know that top team of ISRO was from 2 of the engineering colleges of Trivandrum and Kollam. So that's another way of looking at talent. That, you know, that talent definitely is coming from tier 2 and tier 3. They can build things that what they do in ISRO, then other corporates is much easier.
Okay. Taking the cue from Hari that we are all waiting for lunch, I'll just go back to the last 3 questions and it will be focused on opportunities and challenges. So my first question would be to Mahi on the opportunity of what are the key factors, like we touched upon the tier 1, 2 and 3. So how do we teach niche or potential, high potential talents from the tier 1 to tier 2 and 3 cities, and also more of that is how are you going to ensure that they remain, retention is also there.
So if the advantage of working in tier 2, 3 will be that talent retention will be stronger, much stronger than the tier 1 or 2. 3, 4 will be much, and that's been experienced by many corporates already. If you look at the Zoho example that became famous in pandemic, is that they encourage that kind of a work culture. That's one. Second is this whole support system that I talked about, and then cost for individuals. So while compensation by and large now is not differentiating, it's mostly places because if you can demand the same compensation for working from home, obviously then tier 2, tier 3 will not be a reason for lesser compensation. Even if it's there, then maybe marginal. So then the factor that works for a talent is the saving potential, because the cost of living will be much lesser. The cost of quality of living is higher. So those are the pros, very simplistic put. The cons is that that hiring will not be that easy. It will take longer time. In even today, with Bangalore being like 40% of GCC roughly are in Bangalore today. Even then, new ones are coming to Bangalore. The key reason is talent availability. And not just GCC, every industry. That the reason they keep coming back to cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi or Hyderabad is the availability of talent is faster. So attrition is also high, but availability is also high. So that's the one factor that will go. Second is what kind of SOPs are offered by the government and what ecosystem exists. So in Bangalore, within a short distance with all the traffic in place, people will still come and help each other, and you will get a lot of value-added insights and guidance around you, and people do offer. So that's the other thing. Whether that would be there in smaller cities is a bit of a question mark. So that will be another one. And then depending on which state you operate from, there will be pluses and minuses. So that's how I'd put it.
True. Okay, Hari, there's just one question again on opportunity, I would say, is you're given maybe a chance, okay? What are the 2 things that you would do to bring actually, but make decisions to bring more talent or more operations into emerging cities?
Yeah, it's more about, right, if you want to start operations in emerging cities, right, any probably tier 3 or tier 4, like he talked about. One thing which I would consider is government need to be lenient. Actually, they should have a long-term strategy. And the flexibility of process and policies need to be there, right? Otherwise, if we come in and we say, right, there is no space. What is there actually? Now, we should not say that anymore, right? There are places we can get it free, actually, the land, right? So that's the mindset. Government should put in a long-term strategy to see how they can attract the companies coming in, including startups actually, because startups should have a clear ecosystems like T-Hub in Hyderabad. You go there spending billions of dollars, you can go and just use that space actually, right? With minimal cost. That's one point actually. Then of course the connectivity, right? It could be talent is the number one, but we talked about a lot talent, but more about government strategy and policies. And second thing is more about better connectivity, both air, train, and transport. These are the two things which I definitely highlight, for emerging cities to, develop and more companies to come and start operating out here.
Great. With that view, I come to the last question, and it's definitely people-oriented again. Anitha, we have seen a lot of industries investing their time in diversity and inclusion. We can see it in this forum itself, in this dais also, the gender balancing as well as the inclusiveness. So my question is, in terms of growth as well as longer sustainability, what is this impact of these measures?
I think, diversity is a very important element that you touched on. The fact that, we are created as two genders, primarily male and female, and, male being traditionally the hunter-gatherers and female, being the nurturers. Now, both of these traits are needed to nurture anything, to grow anything. And the same goes with companies, business, okay? And so unless you have both of, diversity in setting up an organization, the organization will not sustain and grow. And, Kerala has this uniqueness of, a large part of the society being a matriarchal society. So an equal status for women being given, right from the start culturally. And, this, I believe, is one of the reasons why, we are the state with 100% literacy. And this is not something that's just known in India, but internationally. If I have told people that I interact with that I am from Kerala, a lot of them said, oh, this is the 100% literate state in India. And, how do you think they achieve this? And this is because we've always believed in equality, that both men and women are equally important, they have equal status, and they should collaborate in making decisions. They have a different point of view, and each point of view is important. Okay, and I see today, the fact that a number of things that Kerala has achieved is because of this. And I'm happy to say that, in the family that I come from, women have always worked. In the previous generation, my mother, my aunts, all of them were working. And, for me, when I started out, it was a natural choice that, yes, I want to work, I want to be independent. And, the opportunity the support was always given right from the family. And I see this as something standing apart, because I don't see this as, something very natural in other parts of the country, which I see so much in Kerala. So I would say continue this. And, for those of you fathers over here and colleagues, male colleagues, I always say, when it comes to leadership positions, definitely, there are more men than women in leadership positions. But my appeal to everyone is that, each of you make sure in a leadership position, make sure that, you nurture at least one diverse talent in your team to take on your position. So this is how we can grow leaders and ensure that there is true diversity in the environment.
I'll just add one thing. So when you think about, so it's a fun fact. So global 500 companies, for Fortune 500, there are more Davids as CEOs than women. So such a bad state, but and it's a global problem. It's just not an India problem. So imagine there are more Davids than women. So the other joke is you choose first name as David and become a CEO.
All right, thank you. I think with that note on diversity, I think we can end our discussion. Thank you, panelists, for an engaging discussion. I'm not sure if you have time for any Q&A, but open for any thoughts and perspectives.
If I may be excused, can we kindly refrain from asking the questions? I hope our panelists will be available for a discussion of the stage, right? So you can actually pitch in on your question of the stage. Thank you so much for the cooperation, because I'm pretty sure that like everybody's hungry out here. And what a beautiful message to end the panel discussion with, such an inspiring message. So can we kindly give a big round of applause for the wonderful discussion that we have just now witnessed. And may I request our felicitator, Ms. Sheena Raj, the head of data services and product management delivery teams at Allianz Technology India, to kindly hand over a tribute from the NASCOM to a wonderful panelist, please. Let's give a big round of applause to a wonderful panelist, Mr. Hari Prasad, the VP and Managing Director at H&R Block India, Mr. Mahipal Nair, the Managing Director of Trellix India and Vice President of HR India, and Ms. Anitha George, the Vice President India COE and Country Leader at Celonis. Thank you so much. And now, let me have the privilege of inviting Mr. Manchit Sherian, the CMO of Kerala IT Parks, Government of Kerala, to kindly come over to the stage and pass on a token of love and appreciation to our felicitator, Ms. Sheena Raj. Thank you so much. Can we kindly have a group photo taken, please? And we shall now move on to our lunch break. The lunch is arranged over there, and also we have got an experience zone. I recommend and I encourage each one of you to kindly experience what is arranged for you at the experience zone. And the lunch break shall be followed by intriguing, a captivating fireside chat on the profound impact of the space technology on shaping our future. So we shall meet back in a couple of minutes. Thank you so much. Have a great lunch.